Part 94. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 931. According to the information revealed by several old people, the number of cultural relics, calligraphy, and paintings flowing into the scrapyard is actually limited, but there will be more furniture, scraps of copper and iron, because most of the books, calligraphy, and paintings were destroyed during the confiscation of homes. Porcelain and the like can also be easily smashed to pieces. Broken copper, iron, and furniture cannot be burned or smashed for a while, so they are naturally transported to scrap stations to support national construction. Not only the enthusiastic students came to search the house, but also the staff of the local department intervened. The people who searched Huang Qinghong's house were not just students. They seemed to be some kind of military representatives. I don't know if they were students. With this magical space, Feng Qingxiu always feels that she should do something to be worthy of this space. In this era, she hopes that she can accumulate some moral virtues to protect the safety of her whole family. She also hopes that her actions in preserving the country's cultural heritage will gild her husband and children in 10 or 20 years. When the country values cultural heritage, what she and Lu Zhang did must be a great achievement and will be remembered by history. Even if we can find a valuable cultural relic in the scrap station, our work has not been in vain, Feng Qingxiu said to Lu Zhang. What's more, the capital is so big, there are so many scrap depots, and the amount of waste is far beyond ours. It can't be compared to Huaihe City. After all, this catastrophe started in the capital, and tens of thousands of households were confiscated in just a few months, right? In fact, during the entire catastrophe, the number of people whose homes were confiscated in the capital was probably hundreds of thousands, resulting in heavy deaths. The number of homes confiscated across the country was probably more than 10 million. This is only a rough statistic. It was not the number that Feng Qingxiu had seen from formal information, so she couldn't be sure whether it was very accurate. Even if it's not accurate, it's not far off. Lu Zhang shook his head and said, "No, let's go to Shanghai first." Go to Shanghai first? Feng Qingxiu didn't understand what Lu Zhang meant. Wasn't the capital the first to suffer? Shanghai is the place with the most developed commerce. Shanghai products are well known throughout the country. There are as many celebrities living in Shanghai as there are in the capital. I am afraid that the teachers at the university and the local literary circles have long since suffered during the Republic of China, Shili foreign market. With the turmoil and the gathering of elites, the wealth accumulated was not unfounded. Lu Zhang sighed in a low voice. It only takes a day or two to get from Huaihe City to Shanghai by the fastest train, and there is definitely a way to go to the capital from Shanghai's plane. Feng Qingxiu understood immediately. Go to Shanghai first and transfer to the capital. Lu Zhang nodded slightly. I think the number of damaged cultural relics in Shanghai is not necessarily less than that in the capital. There are so many celebrities, especially calligraphers and painters, etc., many of whom have settled in Shanghai. They are no less unlucky than Teacher Wen and others. So, we can first go to various scrap collection stations in Shanghai, then go to the black market and flea market, and then transfer to the capital when we are done. If there is a plane flying to us, we will just take this flight. If not, we will fly from the capital to Shanghai and then take the train back home. This way, although we spend more on air tickets, we save a lot of time. For them, time is precious, but money is very unimportant. Then go to Shanghai and inquire about the whereabouts of the senior sisters. Although the teacher didn't say it, he must be very worried about the situation of the senior brothers and sisters. Feng Qingxiu quickly made a decision and followed her husband's advice. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 932. The two of them did not dare to rely on space to save cultural relics in distress. They only told their families that they had to go out for something and would come back in about a month. When she was in the army, Feng Qingxiu was careful and reluctant to let her children leave her eyes. And because there was no adult at home to take care of them, she took them with her when she worked, which restrained Zibao very tightly. What now? With his brother at his side, Zibao is like a wild horse that has escaped the reins. Jumping up and down, chasing chickens and teasing dogs. Because the life of the Wanglu brigade was good, the brigade kept several big wolf dogs to guard the granary. Unexpectedly, these dogs wagged their tails when they saw Zibao. The villagers all praised Zibao for being so popular that even the dogs liked him. When Feng Qingxiu heard this statement, she could only be convinced. When he heard that his parents were about to go out, Zibao waved his hand proudly. "I'm an adult now, don't worry." "Mom, take the baby," Fu Bao burst into tears. He threw away the small wicker flower basket in his hand, hugged Feng Qingxiu's legs and refused to let go. His little face was like a flower bud beaten by the rain. Tender and extremely pitiful. Feng Qingyun smiled and said, "Fu Bao, don't you want to sleep with my aunt? You left, my aunt is so pitiful when she is alone." "The baby wants a mother," Fu Bao said firmly, letting 2 lines of tears scratch his cheeks. "Without a mother, the baby is very pitiful." Feng Qingyun spread her hands to her sister, saying that she had nothing to do. "Fu Bao," Feng Qingxiu squatted in front of her, putting her hands on her shoulders, "can you listen to Mom? Dad and Mom have very important things to do. They are very tired on the road. They don't have enough food and clothing. Okay, Fu Bao, please wait at home for your parents to come back. When your parents come back, I'll bring you delicious cakes." "Cake?" Fu Bao didn't say anything, but Zibao's eyes lit up. Mom, is it my birthday?" Feng Qingxiu was stunned for a moment after hearing these words, and then smiled and said, "Yes, Zibao will soon be 5 years old. He is a big child. Mom and Dad must rush back to celebrate Zibao's birthday. It's early April now, and Zibao's birthday is in May. Calculating the time, we can make it in time. I haven't had any leisure time since I came back." The mother really forgot that her son's birthday was coming soon. "Then you go buy me a cake, a cream cake. Mom, fruit cake is also okay. There are many people in the family, there are many grandparents, and one is not enough to eat." Zibao bargained with his mother matter-of-factly. "I'm very happy now that I can eat a whole cake. What should I do if my sister wants to eat it too?" "You can just buy 10," I thought happily. 10. Feng Qingxiu was angry and funny, and slapped away his fantasy. "Dad and Mom only have 4 hands, and they don't have 3 heads and 6 arms to carry 10 cakes. If you buy so many cakes, you will be kicked out of the grocery store." "Of?" Zibao groaned, with a face full of surprise. He turned his head and thought for a moment, then stretched out 4 fingers and said, 4, 1 on each hand." 4, Fu Bao followed the parrot. "You play with grandpa, aunt, and brother at home, and Mom will buy 4 cakes when she comes back." Feng Qingxiu took the opportunity to tell her daughter. Fu Bao looked at his mother in confusion. "I want to be with my mother, and I also want to eat cake." Feng Qingxiu said seriously, "You can only choose one, and even if you choose Mom, Mom can't take you out. It's too hot outside and it will tan your fair and tender face." "I want to eat cake." The pretty little girl immediately made her choice. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 933. Before departure, Feng Qingxiu prepared the best 4 treasures of the study for Wen Ruyu. The set that Father Lu gave her back then, but she also prepared a lot more ink spindles and rice paper, all of which were found in the scrapyard. Paper without words can be used. Bring it out openly. Feng Qingxiu locked these in the cabinet at home, and gave the key to Feng Qingyun for Wen Ruyu to take at any time. It is well known that people are worried about keeping things in the cowshed. Next, Feng Qingxiu gave many instructions to Guancheng, Feng Qingyun and others, not to let the two children out of their eyes, not to let the two children near ponds and rivers, etc., and to give them food and clothing on time. In case of late spring cold, they kept nagging until they set off on the road, not forgetting to turn around and tell Guancheng and Feng Qingyun, who got up early, to send them out. As soon as they walked away with their front legs, Zibao woke up with his hind legs. This guy was preoccupied with talking about the cream cake he had not eaten for a long time. The military service club did not have such high-priced products, so he was not at all reluctant to leave his parents. Anyway, he was playing everywhere with his brothers these days. To put it bluntly, children have no sense of time and think that their parents will come back soon after they go out. But Fu Bao was different. The first thing he did when he opened his eyes was to get up and look for his parents. If he couldn't find them, he would cry until he couldn't find them. Guancheng and Feng Qingyun hurriedly coaxed her. Zibao put his fingers in his mouth and pulled his lips to make faces in front of her. Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu made a new wicker wreath for her, filled with small wild flowers, but they couldn't help it. To relieve her sadness of not being able to see her parents. "Mom, Mom, I want Mom," Fu Bao cried out of breath with his eyes closed. The sound of crying reached the cowshed. Father Lu stood up suddenly and handed the bucket to Uncle Su. "I'll go over and check on Fu Bao. This kid has to cry for a while when he wakes up in the morning and can't see his parents." It had been like this for the past few days, and they were used to it. However, no matter how accustomed I am to it, I still feel distressed. This fair, clean, delicate, and tender little girl is everyone's cherished treasure. Father Lu took action, one against the other two. The old man made Fu Bao smile with just a few words. He wore a small garland of wild flowers on his head and carried his own wicker basket. He said sweetly, "Grandpa, I will help you with your work. I am very capable." Father Lu took his little granddaughter away. After the family had dinner, Wang Jiao wandered over and asked Feng Qingyun, "Where is your sister? Didn't you say she's back?" Feng Qingxiu sends some things to Wang Jiao every year, including food. Wang Jiao accepts them without any courtesy. Other things such as fabrics are given to Zhang Yuejin as a favor, so last year Zhang Yuejin was given a house of 30 square meters. Wang Jiao moved directly into the city, but she had to come back to work when the farm was busy. Zhang Yuejin has an urban household registration, but she does not. She relies entirely on work points to make ends meet. If she doesn't work, her father will cut off her food rations. Feng Qingxiu had been back for a long time. Wang Jiao had heard the good news a long time ago. However, her youngest son Yangdan suddenly had a fever. She and Zhang Yuejin rushed to the hospital until the child recovered. They did not return to their hometown. The first thing they did was to come looking for wind and light snow. When she heard that she and Lu Zhang had gone away, Wang Jiao's eyes widened. "Why don't you wait for me to come back?" Feng Qingyun pursed her lips and smiled, then went back to the house and gave her a bundle. "Although sister is not at home, the things are there. I heard that you were not at home before, so I didn't send them to you. I have already prepared them." Wang Jiao immediately smiled brightly and said to Feng Qingyun, "Your sister will bring delicious food back when she goes out, right?" Feng Qingyun looked at her face speechlessly, which was still fair and beautiful due to her carefree life. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 934. When Wang Jiao arrived at the Lu family, Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu were walking on the way to Huihei City. It was inconvenient for the two of them to ride bicycles, borrow a mule cart, and be embarrassed to have someone drive them. Fortunately, the fastest train to Shanghai left in the evening, so the couple walked into the city. When they walked to a deserted place and put their luggage into the space, Feng Qingxiu also thought of the Phoenix bicycle in the space. I've only ridden it 2 or 3 times and it's as good as new. When did you buy it? Lu Jiang was riding a bicycle, and she was sitting in the back seat. After listening to Lu Jiang's words, she smiled and said, "It was a long time ago. I spent a lot of money at that time. I never had any reason to take it out, so I had to leave it in the space to gather dust." You really have everything in this space. Lu Jiang was eye-opening every time. Although there are a lot of supplies, they are limited and will be gone once they are used up. Feng Qingxiu sighed, and then added, "But in the past 2 years, due to concerns about the impact and because we are in the army, it is not convenient to take them out." Not much food was consumed, but there were still a lot of fruits, clothes, shoes, and so on, but they were not taken out for the family to enjoy. The reason is easy to find, but there are no such things on the market. Wouldn't it arouse suspicion if you take them out? Before, she was worried that there would not be enough food to feed so many people, but now she is only worried about not being able to get it. Lu Jiang couldn't help but laugh. "I hope I never need to use the materials in the space, but it's a pity. There will come a day when our country needs time to develop." Feng Qingxiu understood what he meant. If you don't use it, it means you don't need it in your life. It means that the people have enough food and clothing and a sincere heart, which can be learned from the world. Lu Jiang nodded, "Yes, just like you said when you bet me." Feng Qingxiu reached out and poked his lower back. "Aren't you unwilling to bet with me?" "Bet, bet, bet, bet. 30 years, I don't think it's enough. Let's stop winning and losing after 50 years, okay?" Feng Qingxiu was stunned for a moment, then smiled slowly. Her smile was very sweet and beautiful, her voice was also very sweet, like an apple just picked from the tree, sweet and juicy. "Okay, we will meet for 50 years, 5 years. Let's see who wins or loses in 10 years. She hoped more than anyone else that they could live in peace for another 50 years and change Lu Jiang's fate in his previous life. Thinking of Lu Jiang's previous life, Feng Qingxiu was filled with pity. Lu Jiang didn't know that his wife was thinking about all the things in her previous life, and said casually, "What if you lose?" "What if I lose?" "Bet, there must be a bet. What should we use as bet?" "Zibao." "Zibao is your son, how can he be used as a bet? Let him know that he has become a bet for his parents. When he grows up, he will definitely fight you." Feng Qingxiu shook her legs and had an idea. "Yes, you lose, well, I'll punish you by carrying me 100 steps. If you didn't carry me off the sedan when we got married, you won't be able to escape this even if you're old, and you'll have to ask Zibao and the others to testify for us." "How old will you be in 50 years? Lu Jiang calculated in his mind that he was already in his 80s. If he wanted to meet her requirements, he needed to take good care of his body. "Okay," he agreed, very confident in himself, and he would definitely be able to afford his wife. "But what if you lose?" "It's a bet, you win and you lose, we have 50 years to witness the result." "I won't lose, you will lose." Feng Qingxiu was very confident. "Lu Jiangdao, I said if." "There is no if," Feng Qingxiu said. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 935. Lu Jiang was unhappy when he heard this. "That won't work. Since it's a bet, then I can't just pay the price if I lose." "Well, I'll set a price. Wife, if you lose, I'll make you draw a painting. The two of us and the whole family of children and grandchildren will all paint it, and by then you will already be a member of the family, and the painting can become a family heirloom." Feng Qingxiu smiled sweetly, "You have so much confidence in me." "Of course, famous teachers make great disciples." Lu Jiang laughed loudly. Talking and laughing along the way, I felt naturally not lonely. After walking for a while, we arrived at Huihei City. The two of them found a secluded place to collect their bicycles, and took out their luggage bags, including a bag of food and a bag of clothes, all carried by Lu Jiang. Of course, they were just showing off. When no one noticed the things in the space, they can be accessed at any time. The couple felt particularly relaxed and at ease without their children around, so they went to a state-owned hotel for lunch. All the students in Tanlian left, and the state-owned hotel finally regained a sense of tranquility. The same waitress came up to greet them. Judging by her dress and mannerisms, she was no longer a girl, but a mother with a little boy about 2 years old following her. "This kid is so cute." After ordering the food and paying for the food stamps, Feng Qingxiu reached out to touch the little boy's head and stuffed him with a handful of toffee. The waiter thanked her profusely, peeled a piece of candy for the child and put it in his mouth, and put the rest in his pocket. "Xiaoke, mommy will keep the rest for you to eat tomorrow." Xiaoke nodded obediently, "Eat tomorrow." The waiter took the child to the kitchen and soon brought over the food ordered by Lu Jiang and Feng Qingxiu. There was no meat in the state-owned restaurant and food was in short supply. The couple only ordered 2 bowls of black noodles and 2 poached eggs. After eating, the two bought tickets and got on the bus. She didn't buy a ticket for the private compartment, so there was only a Datong bunk. Feng Qingxiu chose a bunk close to the carriage. Lu Jiang was on the outside. They were both on the upper bunk. The luggage bags containing clothes were stuffed under the bed, and the ones containing food were placed under the bed. At feet, Lu Jiang took out an old towel from the luggage bag under the bed and covered Feng Qingxiu. "Have a good rest." Feng Qingxiu lay down with her clothes on and closed her eyes. Only when you have enough energy can you have the energy to do things. Lu Jiang also lay down. He was tall and the small berth was a bit narrow, so he could only lie down with his legs curled up. Feng Qingxiu quickly opened her eyes. "Can't sleep." The sleeper car was full of men and women, including some Tanlian students who had been sent home. Most of them sounded like Shanghai Neset. Most of the other passengers who heard this were angry but did not dare to show it. Hearing this, Feng Qingxiu and Lu Jiang looked at each other, with suppressed anger flashing in their eyes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 936. Lu Jiang reacted the fastest and patted the back of Feng Qingxiu's hand. "Don't think about it," he whispered. Although he was just as angry as his wife, he knew how to restrain herself better than her. There is no use getting angry in this situation. Feng Qingxiu breathed out slowly, suppressed the anger in her heart, and said to her husband, "I know, don't worry, I won't say or do anything impulsively. I know our current situation. The general trend is that she will not conflict with these students. It didn't happen before, it won't happen now, and it won't happen in the future. If you haven't been harmed by it, you have no right to do anything for others. Now it's right." Lu Jiang didn't say anything next, but his eyes were stern, deep, and majestic. Feng Qingxiu saw in him the demeanor of a famous general fighting on the battlefield, rather than his gentleness and harmlessness to his family. He should be like this, so that as a wife, she likes and admires him. "I'm hungry and want to eat." The noodles at noon had been consumed long ago. Feng Qingxiu climbed to the end of the sleeper, opened her luggage bag, pretended to be pretentious, took out the scallion oil roll wrapped in gauze from the space, and handed it to Tu for Lu Jiang. Although she didn't make it herself but bought it in a previous life, white flour and scallion oil are considered scarce in this era. Others seemed to smell the smell and sniffed their noses. They looked for Lu Jiang and Feng Qingxiu. When they saw the two of them dressed in military uniforms, they did not do anything except drool. The girl who spoke before seemed to be called Zhou Ping, and Feng Qingxiu heard the people traveling with her call her that. With thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a round head, he looks full of energy and righteousness, but his mind is not generally evil. Feng Qingxiu remembered her appearance and her name, and one day she would tell the world about her evil deeds, because the world is very big, but also very small, and even she is not sure whether she will be able to do so in the future. Met Zhou Ping. At this time, the conductor came to bring hot water. Many people took out their own enamel tanks to collect water and ate the dry food they had brought on the train with the water. Zhou Ping scolded the conductor, saying that they did not respect people like him. Saying that they didn't serve the food because they wanted to sabotage the revolution, etc. Their attitude was outrageous. Lu Zhang glanced at them coldly and said to Feng Qingxiu, "When I followed the war, I could often hear the leaders telling us not to take anything from the common people. For this reason, the leaders often, although almost 20 years have passed, I have always remembered the rules set by the old leaders and never dared to forget them." Feng Qingxiu said deliberately, "Why are you so heavily in debt?" "Because leaders need to write EIS. I don't know how many EIS I have signed in my life. Even if I take a drink of water, the leaders will remember it in their hearts and say that they owe the people." Lu Zhang said every word. If any of my subordinates in our army take things from the people for nothing, they will be expelled from the army, and if the circumstances are more serious, they will be guilty of corruption, and a gun will be indispensable. Like the officer who was killed last year. At this point, Lu Jiang's momentum was overwhelming. For a moment, there was silence in the carriage. Those students who were yelling at the conductor restrained themselves a lot and did not dare to say anything again. The conductor was filled with gratitude to Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu. When pouring water, he poured a full enamel jar of boiling water for them. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 937. Early the next morning, among the voices of these students, a long whistle sounded, and the train arrived at its destination. After these students got off, Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu walked off the train with other passengers and left the station. "It's drizzling like smoke. Find a guest house to stay first." Lu Zhang put his coat on Feng Qingxiu's head. "I remember my comrades from Shanghai said that the train station has the most bus routes, and you can find the corresponding tram at the train station wherever you go. Let's not in a hurry." Feng Qingxiu nodded. "Okay, let's find a place to live first." After asking around, I found out that there was indeed a state-owned hotel nearby. The bored waiter was sitting in the hall downstairs at the front desk with a lazy attitude. When he saw them, he stood up and said with a smile, "Serve the people." "Are the two comrades from the People's Liberation Army planning to stay here?" Lu Zhang had been living in the army for a long time, and he didn't realize it for a moment. Feng Qingxiu was so clever. When she was teaching Zibao and Fuebao, she had already recited the quotations by heart, and immediately said, "The army and the people are united as one, let's see who can do it in the world enemy. Yes, we are new to Shanghai and want to stay here for a few days." Because the two of them were in military uniforms, Lu Jiang's cadre uniform attracted the most attention, so the waiter's attitude was particularly good. A single spark can start a prairie fire. "Please bring out a letter of introduction." Feng Qingxiu had already prepared it. With his family's connections, it was easy to get a bunch of blank letters of introduction. Taking the letter of introduction in his hand and reading it carefully, the waiter immediately noticed something was wrong. Political power comes from the barrel of a gun. Two comrades of the People's Liberation Army, the letter of introduction was not issued by the army. Our responsibility is to the people. Yes, we are revolutionary partners. We are on vacation now, so we are not going out in the name of the army. Feng Qingxiu was particularly sharp-tongued. "We came to school for sightseeing at the request of the brigade secretary. Studying, because our hometown is in a relatively remote rural area, we always receive the policies and instructions from above later than others." The waiter's face softened a little, and he handed back the letter of introduction. "Carry the revolution to the end." "Okay, I will open 2 rooms for you, 2 rooms with doors facing each other, so that you can take care of each other during your stay. Feng Qingxiu has long been accustomed to the rule that couples cannot live in the same room even when they go out. Lu Jiang was very angry. Why were there so many broken rules? To be a gentleman of the people, you must first be a student of the people. Feng Qingxiu smiled and thanked the waiter. It's raining outside. We just got off the train and didn't bring an umbrella. If we want to go out, I don't know where to buy one. To an umbrella. The waiter said, unity is strength. We have umbrellas here. You can borrow them from me when you go out. Feng Qingxiu's eyes lit up. Corruption and waste are huge crimes. Thank you, comrade waiter. The waiter collected the money, issued the invoice, and indeed arranged 2 rooms for them door to door. What made Feng Qingxiu most satisfied was that there were electric lights in them, which neither her hometown nor the military family home had. There are military offices and military hospitals, but not family compound, but it has been decided to provide them with electricity this year. Although the train station was not far from the hotel, the couple still got caught in the rain. After the waiter brought hot water and an enamel basin, Feng Qingxiu locked the door and changed into dry clothes, and then put Lu Jiang's the clothes are delivered to the opposite door. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 938. After closing the door, changing clothes, the 2 of them hid in the house and had a big meal. Rice, mutton soup, the soup is full of meat. Lu Jiang said while eating, honey, this space of yours is really magical. There are hot meals. When I was in the army, you would cook for me from time to time, and I didn't finish it for so long. After eating, it's completely gone, Feng Qingxiu said. Although a large amount of cooked food was prepared in case there was no way to cook during the apocalypse, it was not endless after all. Because Lu Jiang likes to eat braised pork, 1/5 of the braised pork prepared in the space has disappeared. Then I have to eat less. After saying this, Lu Jiang still soaked the rice with mutton soup and devoured it. The mutton tastes not as delicious as the mutton in our army. It has a strong smell of mutton, and the meat is a little fat and soft. Not chewy enough. Feng Qingxiu rolled her eyes. The cooked food she bought were all processed, so naturally they would not use particularly expensive and good ingredients. If you think the mutton soup is bland and not flavorful enough, I'll treat you to mutton skewers. She first took out a plate, and then took out some pieces of mutton that had been removed from the iron when grilling mutton skewers. Each piece had walnuts. Large, fat, and thin, with an attractive aroma. I bought it in the northwest region, authentic halal mutton kebabs. Feng Qingxiu had a small appetite and was already full. She poured the remaining half bowl of rice into Lu Jiang's bowl, then took out a large handful of lettuce leaves, picked up a piece of mutton that was still hot, and stuffed it into Lu Jiang's bowl. Mouth, how about a taste? Lu Jiang's mouth was filled to the brim, and he managed to swallow it. It's delicious. If it's delicious, eat more of it, Feng Qingxiu thought of an advertising slogan. Lu Jiang had a huge appetite and ate all the food on the table, almost burping. Feng Qingxiu put the dishes and chopsticks into the space. There was no water in the room, so she couldn't wash them. Then she opened the window to diffuse the smell, lest the waiter come in and smell the mutton and report them for eating. In times of scarcity, not everyone could eat mutton. Half an hour later, the smell was almost gone, and the wind and snow pulled Lu Jiang away. Let's go, time is very tight, let's go out and walk around, feel the way, and then just eat. Lu Jiang certainly has no objection to the heavy responsibility on his shoulders. The couple locked the door to the room, borrowed 2 old oilcloth umbrellas from the waiter, and went out one after another. Yes, 2 umbrellas. The reason is that gay men cannot share an umbrella with gay men, even if they are husband and wife. Shanghai City certainly deserves its reputation. Walking along the roadside, you can see all kinds of small bungalows and old bungalows, and you can also see passers-by in a hurry. They say that Shanghai is the most fashionable place to dress, but looking at the clothes men and women wearing umbrellas or without umbrellas and raincoats don't look particularly fashionable in their attire. If they wear raincoats, they can't see clearly what's underneath. However, they are very energetic, hold their heads high, and speak one Allah, one Yi, or Lao Panghua. Lu Zhang didn't understand and asked Feng Qingxiu in a low voice, "Can you understand Shanghainese?" "I know Allah means what I mean, Yi means what he means, Nong means what you mean, and Lao Panghua seems to mean what the old man means, right?" "I don't quite understand the rest," Feng Qingxiu also answered him in a low voice. She had been to Shanghai in her previous life and even stayed at a relative's house for a while, gaining a little understanding of Shanghai's customs. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 939. There are trams on the road, and trams come and go. Through the windows, you can see that the cars are full of people. Feng Qingxiu specifically looked up and felt dizzy. Unknowingly, the two of them came across a nearby scrap station. Shanghai is such a big city, so of course there are more than 3 or 5 scrap depots. Especially during such a catastrophe, the scrap depots are very useful. Many things confiscated from homes are sorted here and then transported to the factory. Serving the people. What can you do? Two comrades, the staff at the scrap station, were meticulous. Lu Zhang already had previous experience and said casually, "Corruption and waste are huge crimes. We both came from poor backgrounds, our hometown is in a remote location, and we lack paper and pens. We wanted to see if there is any paper that can be recycled in the waste depot. The pen is used to copy the quotations of the old leader and go back to publicize the importance of the quotations to the fellow villagers." Upon hearing this, the staff stepped aside with a smile on their faces, study hard and make progress every day. Propaganda is very important. You can go to the warehouse to find usable pens and paper, but you can't bring anything that will undermine the revolution. 10,000 years is too long. Seize the day and night. Don't worry, we are wholeheartedly facing the red sun and have no intention of sabotaging the revolution. After Feng Qingxiu finished speaking with a smile, she and Lu Zhang were led by the staff into the warehouse filled with waste paper. Unlike the thatched sheds in their city, this is a warehouse, a very large and empty warehouse. The waste products are also piled up in different categories. The quantity is larger and it looks very grand. Feng Qingxiu and Lu Zhang had discussed it. They were outsiders and it was unlikely that they would be able to bring large pieces of furniture out, so they focused on light things such as books, calligraphy, and paintings that were easier to carry and less likely to be discovered. Try to steal as many antiques as possible without anyone discovering them. After all, every cultural relic is full of the wisdom of the ancients. There are too many books, calligraphy, and paintings, and it is not easy to find valuable cultural relics with this number. I can't stand comparison. It's easy to find a few saplings from a small mountain, but it takes a lot of effort to find a few saplings from a continuous mountain. The two of them were disgraced for more than half an hour. They found a lot of white paper, brushes, and other things, but only a few valuable calligraphy and paintings. One picture is better than nothing. With this belief, Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu continued until Feng Qingxiu pushed Lu Jiang's arm. "I just took a look. There are several particularly precious pieces of Ming and Qing Huanghuali and gold silk in the old furniture over there. For Nanmu and small leaf red sandalwood, you can go to the staff and ask if we don't sell furniture there. Can you buy some old furniture and renovate it at home?" This is the best excuse, the most versatile excuse. Lu Zhang thought for a while and said, "Okay, I'll try it." He noticed that the staff guarding the warehouse had cigarette butts in their mouths. Smoking in a place like the scrapyard was quite dangerous, but he was unscrupulous and asked Feng Qingxiu for a pack of cigarettes. He knew that Feng Qingxiu often bought some. Tobacco and alcohol are stored in the space. Feng Qingxiu took a box of 65-cent Chinese and handed it to him. Don't argue, just buy it if you can, and forget it if you can't. Although Ming and Qing furniture made of precious wood is valuable, it is far less valuable than the safety of my own couple. Lu Zhang came to the staff member and handed him a cigarette. A single spark can start a prairie fire. Comrade, can I buy a few pieces of old furniture and take them back for renovation? There are many children in the family, and several of them have reached the age of marriage. But we can't get furniture tickets and can't buy furniture, so we want to renovate old furniture like we renovate old ideas. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 940. The staff member held the cigarette and looked at the cigarette box in Lu Jiang's hand, which contained only one cigarette. Seeing that Wei was aware of it, Lu Jiang immediately stuffed the cigarette into his pocket and whispered, "I don't smoke, so I gave it to my comrade." The staff member immediately laughed and spit out the cigarette butt in his mouth. "Okay, you have to dismantle the old furniture before you can take it out. Weigh it by the kilogram, and you can't lose a penny, otherwise I won't be able to explain it." "Thank you, comrade. Thank you. Please lend me a few tools so I can dismantle the furniture." With cigarettes, everything is easy to talk about and everything is easy to handle. The staff knew very well that, on the one hand, Lu Zhang was wearing a cotter uniform, and on the other hand, Zonghua cigarettes were also cotter cigarettes. Without an approval slip, ordinary people with money could not buy them, including Mutai. It's good to be a soldier, but it's even better to be a cotter. You can get approval for tobacco and alcohol. After hearing his emotion, Lu Zhang immediately said, "We came to Shanghai for business and didn't bring many things. We do have a bottle of Maotai and a bottle of Fenjiu. Let's have a taste tomorrow." That's what he said, but the staff knew very well that the other party gave it to him. It's a waste, it's a waste. In the evening, Lu Zhang easily carried 2 large bundles of old furniture parts and Feng Qingxiu out. Feng Qingxiu was in high spirits, holding the paper and pen she had bought openly and honestly. In this afternoon, she had probably stolen more than 30 priceless paintings and calligraphy, more than 40 ancient books, a dozen pieces of copper and ironware, and 20 many pieces of porcelain, a dozen small wood carvings, and some precious things hidden in the secret compartments of old furniture. After explaining it to the hotel attendant, the furniture parts, paper, and pen on the surface were brought back to the room smoothly. After a simple shower, the couple lived in separate rooms. Feng Qingxiu took advantage of the break to dry her hair to sort out the cultural relics and antiques that had been put into the space. The things in the space could be organized according to her ideas. Clothes, food, etc. were all piled up in categories, including the cultural relics and antiques that had been brought in recently. Without wasting her own time, she just recorded today's harvest so that she wouldn't be in a hurry when she can donate it in the future. The first ride went relatively smoothly, and Feng Qingxiu had a good sleep. I got up early the next morning and asked Lu Zhang to go out for breakfast. They always hid in the house to eat, which would definitely arouse people's suspicion. Who would not eat or drink? Therefore, it is necessary to eat 3 meals a day out, just eat less. There was a breakfast shop nearby, and the two of them received a warm welcome after entering. Lu Zhang wanted to eat fried steamed buns, and ordered 2 guests of fried steamed buns. In addition to the food stamps, the total cost was 24 cents, and he also ordered a bowl of salty soy milk. The wind was light. Shui wanted to eat wontons, so she ordered a bowl of wontons. The waiter said, serving the people. Wontons and half a tael of food stamps. Half a tael of food stamps, Lu Jiang's eyes widened. How do you pay for half a tael of food stamps? Tear one tael of food stamps in half. Before Feng Qingxiu had time to speak, the young waitress rolled her eyes at him. You can tell from Comrade's words that he is an outsider. Didn't you know that Shanghai issues half a liang of food stamps? 1 liang of wontons and half a liang of food stamps. A fried dough stick is half a liang of food stamps, a bowl of soy milk is half a liang of food stamps, a bowl of chicken porridge is half a liang of food stamps. Lu Zhang quickly stopped. Stop, stop, it turns out that half a tael of food stamps can buy so many things. I'll give you the money and the tickets. Please give us the 2 taels of fried steamed buns, a bowl of salty soy milk and a bowl of wontons that we ordered. Qingxiu, what else do you want to eat? Feng Qingxiu smiled and shook her head. A bowl of wontons was enough. It's the end of the month, please vote for me. It's Monday, please vote. Recommended votes come as soon as possible. Thank you for your reward.